Hey guys, I'm just doing a little video to kind of show where I'm coming from with my experience in animation and how it all started, and why I enjoy doing it so much, why I'm so passionate about it, why I like it so much. So here we go, and I don't really tell this to very many people. So I think it's finally time now that I'm in Animation Mentor to do this. So first of all, I am an artist. First and foremost, I draw, I paint. Those are my main two talents. I would say drawing is more of a talent though. And I would actually put animation at this point in my life, and I would say even for a while, animation I would consider a talent. I know there's a lot more to learn, okay? But it's still on that same level of importance to me, okay, as my other talent of drawing. Okay, so I've been drawing since I was actually about 3 years old. I had so many notebooks filled with drawings, and I actually at one point I got rid of like half of them. There's just so many, and the very first encounter I had with animation, at least to my memory, with stop motion animation, which was the first animation I started with, it was like of a pumpkin head. And I was animating, I think it was my first time seeing how, I was just so fascinated how you could take just any object, okay, and I had a face, it was a jack-o'-lantern, but you could take any object and frame by frame, image by image, and move it just a little bit. Take an image, move it a little bit, take an image, and then when you put those images together, it looks like it's moving, And I'm just saying, for those of you who don't know much about animation, that's why I was kind of explaining that more. I just found that so interesting that you could do that you could you could take multiple images, move it a little bit, and, obviously as a kid, I'm sitting here thinking, my hands aren't in a shot. I'm not playing with a toy, they're not visible. It's like, because obviously when you're a kid, you got to use more imagination. Well, it's like, wow, I don't need my hands in the shot. Oh my goodness, it was just so amazing that you could bring anything to life with seemingly nothing making it happen, And I found it so fascinating. I'm like, you can do anything with this, You can accomplish so much if hiding behind the curtain, your hand's not visible. I'm just saying, I just found that so interesting. So really, that's the whole, that's where I got started on animation, putting multiple images together to bring something to life, bring something to life. I think that really got me interested. So, also my uncle, one of my uncles is a professional animator, and I think he had a really huge inspiration on me because I saw some of the early stuff he did, and it was just interesting, and it was like, I want to do that. I want to create a 3D character, or I want to make a 3D character, do these animations, these movements. I saw it as an art form, and I was so intrigued by it. The first software I used to accomplish this, the very first animation software I used, is called Animator. It was a free, I don't know if you can still get it, but it was a free animation software that you can get online. Okay, I wouldn't really call it professional at all. I wouldn't call it the software professional. It's not bad considering it's free. It really isn't. But compared to something like Maya or even Animation Master, no, not really. But it was interesting. Anyway, but I started off with that, and because I didn't know anything about computer animation, I didn't know how to use a timeline. Obviously I'm guessing there was a timeline, but I don't remember. There has to be, but I don't know. I didn't know how to use it if there was. I can't remember. But I didn't know how to use a timeline. I didn't know how to set keyframes, set a keyframe when the character, my arm is here, set one a few seconds later when it's here, and then it fills in between. The computer automatically fills in, the spaces. I didn't know how to do that. So, because that's how computer animation works. For those of you who don't know, you set a point here on the timeline, and then maybe 30 frames later, you move the arm, you set a frame, so it locks that pose at that point in time. So it's here and then it's here, and then what the computer does is in between those 2 points that you set on the timeline, it fills in the space. So it does this instead of doing that. It fills it in. It automatically makes that movement instead of the 2 frames. So anyway, the point is that I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to model either. So I had to make compromises for these things that I didn't know how to do. And one of the things I did was, for the animation, I actually moved the objects frame by frame. So frame, okay, save image to computer, move the object in the software more, save image to computer, moved it again. So that's how I did it. That's not the way you're supposed to do animation. You're supposed to boom, boom, fill in the gaps, and then go back and make those in-betweens, they're called in-betweens, go back and make it look better. Because you know, this is kind of robotic looking. Obviously from here to here you want that movement, right? The computer's not going to know how to do that. Anyway, the point is that I wasn't doing it the correct way. I was cheating. I was finding a way around it because I didn't know how to do it the right way. I was using my stop motion animation techniques. And I used also for modeling, since I didn't know how to model, I knew how to squash and stretch the shapes, but I didn't know how to actually, like say take an object, okay, and in modeling you can extend, you can grow, like I'm making a character, this is my torso, this is the object, you can grow out an extension in arm, like that, and then you can do it again, and eventually you have this arm, okay, you keep extending it. Well, anyway, that's an example of how you model. I didn't know how to do stuff like that. All I knew how to do was to squash and stretch, okay, I didn't know how to actually add on more to the model. So anyway, so I had to compromise by putting multiple shapes together to make the characters. And you can actually see the last video I uploaded on YouTube has it has all my major animations I've made, and it actually shows 2 of those animations from Animator. And you can see what I mean by the shapes, okay? So I'm not going to go into that anymore, really. But so yeah, that's how I started off in computer animation. And then I moved on to Animation Master. I'm not going to talk too much about this. It's just not necessary. It's basically regular animation software. It's not as professional. It's more of a hobby kind of software. But it does, at that point in the game, at that point I knew how to, point here, fill in. I knew how to animate the correct way by adding keyframes and stuff. I knew how to do that. So anyway, that was kind of nice. For the first time, I actually knew how to animate correctly instead of using stop motion. And then I knew how to. I learned how to model in that software. I wasn't the best modeler, but I was all right. I spent a whole lot of time modeling actually. But anyway, so yeah, that I got a lot of experience from Animation Master, and it was good software. But I didn't use the book. I pretty much everything I learned was from experimentation. I learned everything myself. I was self-taught with the software. You need to learn. You need to watch tutorials. You need to learn stuff because you will. It's good to experiment, but you can't learn everything that way. Because you may understand how a tool works, but not why it works. You may be like, oh, it does this, but what could I use that for? How could I apply that? So it's good to always look up tutorials. Anyway, so I made some of what I consider my best, most memorable animations with Animation Master. I applaud Hash; they do good, but The last film I made with that software was Fight for a Flight, and I never completed it. I don't know what happened. I think I just lost track of time. I took a break from it and I never got back to it. And at some point I was just like, okay, I'm done with this. So anyway, so then and by the way, at some point I did actually do some 2D animation. At some point in my experience with animation, I have done 2D animation. I think that was after stop motion. At some point in there, I did draw several pictures and make an animation. I scanned them in our scanner we had at the time, and they're on my computer. It was a Timon and Pumbaa animation. It's really the only major thing I ever made 2D wise, because it's so tedious. I was just like, it took so long, and now looking back on it, I realize I did not make very many frames. Okay, I did not make very many drawings, so it was very choppy, you know, and so yeah, you could tell I didn't like drawing the same thing over and over again. I can't do that. I'm not at all dissing 2D animation, traditional animation. I'm just saying that's something that I just can't do. I don't have patience. Here's the difference between stop motion animation, traditional, those two, and then computer animation. Here's the difference between those two and computer animation. Okay, so traditional animation with 2D, you have sketches and stuff like Snow White. You draw an image, done. Draw another image, okay, done. So the character's doing, like, say, I'm the character's doing this. Okay? Alright, draw an image, done. Okay, now moving a little bit, draw an image. So you're making these images, and it's the same with stop motion. You make a frame, move the character, take another picture, move the character. Okay, so that's how that works. Now, obviously, computer animation is, like I said, it fills it in for you. But again, they tell you not to heavily rely on the computer automatically doing that for you, because obviously you don't have to move it when it's filling it in. So it saves you a lot of time, but it looks kind of robotic, So it's good to that it fills it in to kind of give you a general idea of what it's doing, but really you do need to go back in and make it look better. Add detail, like my finger going up and down. Like add detail to the shot. Anyway, my point is that I love working with computer animation. The fact that it fills it in for you, and then if I want to go back and correct it, but I just don't have the patience to. And that's another thing too. I feel as though 2D animation and stop motion animation just require so much more patience and work than computer animation, because it just requires so much more work, and and plus I just don't like drawing things over and over again like that. I just don't like that. Anyway, so that's my point. I have some experience with 2D animation. So yeah. Anyway, so after Animation Master, I started using Maya, which is the professional software that I use now. Animation Mentor has us use Maya, and I've actually, because my uncle's, he uses Maya for his stuff, my uncle, and my dad actually took the Animation Mentor online course. So with my connections and with my prior knowledge of Animation Master, I was able to learn how to use Maya fairly decent. I'm not talking about everything. I'm talking about just how to animate. Okay? When I first started using Maya, I barely knew anything about the software. It looked really complex. But anyway, and then I learned how to animate. But now here I am now. I have, again, you can watch my other video. It shows you my experience with Maya. It's not bad. There's no short films or anything, but they're just tests. They're animation tests. So I have 2 ball bounce animations and 2 character animation tests. Okay, but that can kind of show you what I've made with Maya. So now that I'm Animation Mentor, I am, I'm going to be learning more about animation, things I never knew before or thought of before or never observed or saw or understood before about how people move in animation. So they're teaching us so many things. And I'm so happy. I'm really looking forward to it. So there you go. That's kind of my background with with animation and where I'm coming from. But you know, at the root of what I do, it's creativity and imagination. Because ever since I was a kid, you know, I would make these awesome stories. I'm not bragging. I'm just, you know, stating facts. I made these awesome stories, you know, with my toys, and I know we all had an imagination. We all did that. But I'm just saying, is that I really try to focus on creating a really unique story, and you know, and what's interesting is even back then, I focused on trying to get the cinematography right, or not the cinematography. I would say actually the choreography of the shot, the way the character moves. When I was playing with my toys, I would, if something punched him and he'd fly back, I would make him fly back multiple times, like retakes basically, if you think of it that way. I would make him fly back multiple times until it felt right, until it was as climactic as I wanted it to be and the angle was right, and it was just like, you know, something really cool, like, you know, something dramatic. And I kept doing that over and over again. When I was playing with my toys by myself, I would do this because I wanted to see it in my head. I wanted to see the story taking place. I wanted to pretend like my hands weren't there. I wanted to pretend like this was really happening. So even from a young age, I've focused on cinematography to an extent. I mean, or just maybe I would just say the way things look in the choreography. But I've even from an early age, you know, it's been creativity and imagination for me. So I really love storytelling. I mean, I love the idea of coming up with a story and telling it through animation. You know, and I just think animation is such a great medium to show your ideas. You know, and so that's where I'm coming from with that. So yeah, that's my background as far as where I'm coming from animation wise and all that. So hope you enjoyed, and you can watch my next video. The next video I uploaded, it's about my my views and perspective on animation, and I kind of introduced some new ways of looking at things and what animation really is. So if you want to check that out, it's the very next video I uploaded on my channel, and so yeah, I hope you enjoyed. See ya.